What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Veggie Power Daily Podcast. I'm here with my co-host Marco Zertato and myself, Andy Dita, and we're back today with another Q&A episode today. And last week's episode was awesome. You guys sent in a really great questions, and this week we got a lot more value coming. So let's just go right into it. How you doing, Marcos?
Doing awesome. Glad to be here and looking forward to answering these questions. I heard you had a few questions based on my specialty, so that's pretty good to hear.
Yeah, man, definitely. Like Marcos is he's really knowledgeable in postural assessments and things like that, right, Marcos?
Yep, that's right. Corrective exercise, beginning and intermediate strength training. So just bring in all those questions.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So the first question we have here is so guys, I basically have a list of questions here through comments from my articles, some DMs that me and Marcos have gotten, and I've gathered them all here in this notebook here. So I'm just gonna be reading them off for you guys so you guys know what the question is. So the first question is, what's better, the LandMine Press or the Barbell incline press for the upper chest development? I would have to say that they're both really good movements. I wouldn't necessarily say that one is going to be better than the other. I would start, with that being said, I would start with the incline barbell press first and just keep on building strength on that exercise. And then when you find that you start to plateau on it, then switch over to the LandMine press. That's what I gotta say about the LandMine press and incline press, because they're both really good movements that work the upper chest and front delts. And I just think that if you haven't done either of those exercises before, that you should probably just start with incline press and then switch to LandMine when you hit a plateau on one of those exercises. All right, so the next question says, are you and Marcos going to be doing more collabs soon? Yeah, for sure. Me and Marcos do have a lot of things planned. Marcos recently relaunched his website, and we definitely got a lot more things coming, right, Marcos?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
we got more things coming. Online training, coaching. I'm gonna relaunch my YouTube channel. I definitely want to do more podcasts more frequently, and get started with creating new content. So just feel free to just send us ideas, and we just keep creating whatever we can.
Awesome, man. Of course. Yeah, just let us know what kind of episodes do you guys want to see. More of the nutrition side, more plant-based philosophy side, or more of like training, nutrition, and some of the other things we've been talking about. Just go ahead and let us know what kind of episodes would you guys like to see, and we will definitely get to doing them. So the next question here, it says, hello, Andy. My question is, what's the difference between a vegan and a plant-based diet? So this is actually a common question I see among people who are very new to the plant-based diet, veganism, and things like that. And the main difference between those two, I would have to say, from going vegan to following a plant-based diet, is probably going to be first, I got to define both of them. So vegan means you're following the plant-based diet itself, but there's a lot of other different philosophies that go along with it, like for the environment, for the animals, and there's a lot of different aspects to veganism itself. And the plant-based diet in itself, it means you don't necessarily, well, you could have the same beliefs, but the plant-based diet is just going to be the diet's portion of the veganism itself. Imagine veganism as this entire belief system where you go vegan for the purposes for the environment, for animals and things like that, but the plant-based diet is just one aspect of that, of this huge entity, I believe. And yeah, that's what I can clearly define from the plant-based diet and vegan. Marcos, have you gotten this question before? Because this is actually a question that I actually had a question about too at first.
Oh, many times. I know people that are actually plant-based, but they're not really vegan.
Yeah.
So it's true, like not intentionally, but they still use like certain products that get tested on animals. They still with leather, but they don't eat any animals, and they usually do it for like for health reasons. And that's basically what the plant-based diet is. But then again, I know
Yeah,
vegans that refrain from any and all use. Well, they minimize to try to do as little damage as possible when it comes to consuming animal products or byproducts from made from animals. But sometimes they're not the most health conscious, and they do it more for like the animals, the environment, a combination of the three, things like that. But
exactly.
the way to see is see what resonates with you, and just be educate yourself, be fully aware, talk to other vegans and people on a plant-based diet, and see their experiences. That way, you're able to make an educated decision on your diet and lifestyle too.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Because I just feel like the plant-based diet is just one portion of a vegan's life, you know, because if when you're vegan, you have a lot of other there's so many different aspects of veganism that we'll definitely go into on a different episode of the podcast. But a plant-based but to sum it up, a plant-based diet is just the eating portion of the vegan movement, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. That was a solid question. So the next one we have is, can I start with phase 4 of the vegan Spartan program, or should I start my bulk with the phase 1 strength and density program? I would say start with phase 1, especially since you're asking this. I'm assuming you're a beginner and you want to do your first lean bulk. I would definitely focus on building your strength first. That's why on the vegan Spartan program, I lay it all out. I say that phase 1 is mostly focused on building your strength up. So that way, when you do a lean bulk, you can definitely maximize muscle growth. Because since phase 5 is a really high volume routine, I feel like since you're very new to since you're very new to weight training, I would definitely start with phase 1 because in the beginning, you don't necessarily need to bulk and go into a caloric surplus when you're new to when you're new to weight training as it is, because you're going to be making strength gains regardless of whether you're whether you're eating enough or not. So I would definitely save the bulk for later on. I would definitely save phase 4 of the program for later on and just start with phase 1 now and build strength. And after 4 or 5 months, you can go ahead and start the phase 4 of the program. All right. Let's see another good one. I'm recently transitioning into a full plant-based diet. I was wondering if you could recommend some good sources of calcium. Cool. I actually did a infographic recently on some great calcium sources, and almonds is the first thing that comes to my head because I personally eat a lot of almonds for my calcium source, and based off research I've done, people on a plant-based diet or healthy individuals, they only need about 1,000 mg of calcium per day. That's to support good bone density and things like that. And Marcos, you know any good like sources of calcium that come on top of your head?
I know certain greens. Do they have calcium?
Yeah. Like I know.
I'm trying to remember. I remember green. That's why most. Yeah.
I recently made a list of different calcium sources that are great for a plant-based diet, and if you guys want to check that out, you guys can go ahead and scroll down to my Instagram page on at Veggie Power Daily, and you'll find I actually did an infographic on different sources of calcium, and I don't necessarily know the different sources of calcium on top of my head right now, but I will say that you only need about 1,000 mg of calcium per day, and you should have no problem hitting that on a plant-based diet. And I'm guessing since you asked that question, you want to on calcium you're consuming, so I feel like that infographic I did on this very topic will help you out, man. I'm just gonna have you go ahead and check it out. Can I follow a plant-based diet if I'm 15? And also, what's the minimum age to follow your vegan Spartan program? So, what do you think, Marcos? Like, you want to follow a plant-based diet? As long as
any and all ages.
Like as long as you don't have any like you don't have any health issues and you're consuming the right macro and micronutrients, I don't see a problem in that. What do you think, Marcos?
So as long as they see like a professional, like a dietitian that's knowledgeable with the plant-based diet,
Yeah.
or someone that has had success with the plant-based diet, and just experimenting themselves, seeing which foods like work for them, and just eating something that I tell my clients is just, well, they're not 15, they're older, but eating the fruits and vegetables and plant-based foods that they like, and then if they feel like they have to make changes along the way, that's perfectly fine. But the main thing is just sticking to the food that you enjoy to start off with, and finding guidance.
Exactly.
Expert advice. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Exactly. Yeah, definitely. I would definitely seek out a health professional first before you start, before you change anything really drastic with your diet, such as like a plant-based diet. Like right before you start cutting things out of your diet, such as dairy, meat, and things like that, I would make sure that I would definitely check in with like a registered dietitian to make sure that you don't have any like micronutrient deficiency that you need to take care of that maybe get worse if you start a plant-based diet. And I would just make sure that everything is spot on before you make any drastic changes to your dietary needs.
Mm-hmm.
And and he also asked what's the minimum age to follow a vegan Spartan program. I'd say vegan Spartan program is an intermediate program. Like it's for people who have been weight training for at least 6 months. So I would say start on my novice program first, start my beginner's weight training program first, and then build strength with that, and then go ahead and start the vegan Spartan program after like about 6 months. Yeah, you guys can go ahead and start it after 6 months. And what's the minimum age for it? I'd say like around your age, man. I don't see the problem in starting weight training early on, especially since you have a lot of room to grow since you're really young. All right. Oh, and if you guys want to check out the beginners program, I have it up on my blog. I'm going to go ahead and link it in the bio so you guys can check that out. All right. Hello. All right. So the next question here is, hello, my wife recently introduced me to your podcast. I was wondering if you could recommend a few strength exercises to build my arm size. Thanks again, Team Veggie Powered all the way. All right, man. Some exercises to build your arm size. I would definitely say and so closed grip bench press for your triceps, and do incline dumbbell curls for your biceps. And something common that I see with guys trying to make their arms bigger is they don't realize that your triceps are actually 2/3 of your arms. So if you're really focused on building your triceps, then that will make a visual difference to how your arms look in like a shirt on, or whether you have a shirt off. That'll make a huge difference. And getting stronger at your closed grip press, along with some cable rope extensions with the rope for high reps, that'll take care of the majority of your triceps size. And weighted dips are also another great exercise that build a lot of mass on the long head of your tricep. And the incline dumbbell curls and the rope hammer curls with the cable for high reps as well.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise. And if you include those 4 movements into your routine, you'll definitely start to see some arm gains, man.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And also doing compound movements over time, we also see like
exactly
like a year and a half, I did like little to no like isolated movements, mostly all compound movements, and I saw a difference. Honestly, mostly in my triceps, not really in my biceps.
Yeah, man.
Because like for me personally, I have like triceps are so like big in my bicep because I don't do too many curls because, or I'll be honest, it's kind of boring. So I always try to do them anyway.
Yeah, man, for sure. Like if you're getting stronger at your presses, whether that be pressing above the head or just say a regular horizontal press like the bench press, weighted dips, overhead press, standing presses, any pressing movement is going to be working your it's going to be working your triceps. And as you're getting stronger at the compound movements, like you said, Marcos, and you're including some accessory work in like a higher rep range, that volume work along with your strength training on these compound movements is going to make a big difference to how your arms will look aesthetically. So definitely go progress on closed grip bench press and include some accessory work to increase your arm size.
Tempo is definitely affected too, so maybe going a little bit slower on the eccentric motion, which is when you slow down, when you decelerate, that also helps out a lot with building the muscle since you have more time under tension.
Yeah, man, definitely, for sure. And one other thing that I will add is RPT sets. I was actually going to talk about this later on, but if you're building strength using reverse pyramid training on your compound movements, and you're increasing strength, and you're including some higher rep range work in like a lower tempo, as you said, during the eccentric part of the motion markers, you're gonna be including like the best of both worlds, you know? Like you're getting the sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and you're getting the myofibrillar hypertrophy. So we're making some really good gains. And yeah, definitely. The closed grip pressing and weighted dips are the way to go for your arm size. What we'll add is that it seems to me, based off your question, that he seems like a beginner. So at first, I would recommend a full body weight training program that not just focuses on your arms, but your entire body altogether. And then as you have more training under your belt, then you can start adding more specialization routines where you kind of know what your weak points are, and then you can focus on that. Because since he's a beginner, it's really hard to like create a specialization program that just focuses on his arms if he doesn't have any weight training experience before. That's the one other note that I wanted to add. And another question is, do you prefer brown rice or white rice? I probably just say white rice because I just prefer white rice, but brown rice is also great too. I don't see any problem in brown rice either. What about you, Marcos? What do you prefer?
I prefer brown rice since, from what I heard, white rice is stripped of a lot of its nutrients.
Nice.
And sometimes the body can digest it properly. But then again, you said you've been eating it, so maybe someone made that up and maybe it works for you. I don't know. But for me, I prefer brown rice and sometimes wild rice too, which is actually, from what I heard, the most complete rice you could get. And it's the one that's less processed and has been less messed with over time. But honestly, it's pretty expensive. And it's hard to find just like pure wild rice. So I prefer brown rice, but whichever one works for you. And then again, depends what you're looking for. You're looking for taste, for nutrition, for digestion. There's several different factors to think about too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. And one of the reasons I prefer white rice because I typically don't have white rice as a pre-workout meal, but I just prefer it as a post-workout meal since it's a high glycemic carbs and glycogen for it can store as glycogen in my muscles, and that kind of helps with strength gain. So that's one of my reasons behind white rice. But brown rice can definitely do the same thing. Brown rice is a great it can be a great part of a pre-workout meal. And I think they actually have like a new type of rice right now. It's called cauliflower rice, which can actually be a really good low-calorie option if you guys are on like a diet or something and you don't feel like having regular rice. Regular rice is going to be like around 120 calories for about 100 grams. But versus cauliflower rice, which is only 60 calories per 100 grams, which is not bad, actually, if you think about it. And I think that's another great option if you guys are dieting and just something to keep in mind in general. All right, it seems like yeah.
So the actual rice is made of cauliflower?
Yeah. So how they make it is they grind the cauliflower into this rice form, and I think that's about it. I think that's basically how they make it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I actually discovered it recently too. Here, it seems my iPad is turned off, so let me go ahead and go to my email so I can pull up the questions again. There we go. All right. All right. It says, do I need to include conventional deadlifts into my routine? Is it necessary to build a great body? Because I find that my lower back is giving me issues and was wondering if it was absolutely necessary. I'd say if you're a beginner, definitely include deadlifts. But if your lower back is giving you issues, then I don't think it's necessary. And you can definitely build a great physique without deadlifts. Don't fall into the myth that you only have to do the big three like squat, bench, and deadlifts. Like there's other exercises out there. If you find that you can't pull conventional deadlifts, then maybe just do pull sumo and then see how your back feels. And if you find that your lower back is still giving you issues from doing like doing some back squats and deadlifts, then switch to rack pulls. Switch to rack pulls because the rack pulls are like a really great exercise for your upper back. And I'm guessing since you want to build a great physique, you want to emphasize your upper back, and rack pulls will definitely help you do that. I mean, if you think about it on like a physical level, deadlifts are more of a full body exercise rather than isolating a single muscle group. I'd say since you're looking to build a great physique, I'd say combine weighted chin-ups or pull-ups with rack pulls, and that'll really emphasize your posterior chain, especially if you're doing rack pulls below the knee. You'll definitely hit your hamstrings, and it'll definitely take some stress off your back. If you have some lower back issues like I do, because I actually have lower back issues myself, I actually don't do conventional deadlifts. Either I do a block pull, which means it's going to be like a 4 or 5 inches off the ground, or a rack pull below the knee and above the knee are definitely great options. And combining rack pulls with weighted pull-ups is definitely a deadly combination. The weighted chin-ups and pull-ups are going to be taking care of your bicep and your lat width and growth, and the rack pulls are going to be taking care of your upper back growth, and it's going to be hitting your posterior chain. So those two are definitely great options. And if your lower back is giving you issues, I don't think including deadlifts anyway is worth it at all, because let's say that you get injured, that's going to be like a year or 6 months off training, where versus if you were to just substitute that for another exercise that's more injury prone, I feel like that's definitely a better option. What do you think, Marcos?
So
should he include deadlift?
The main thing you should work on is checking his shoulders and his hips. Because most of the time, if you have low back pain while deadlifting, it's because you're not engaging your glutes or your hamstrings properly. So you're not working on your hip hinge, which is one of the main portions of the deadlift movement.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's hard to tell just based off saying low back pain, since the deadlift is such a complex movement and the whole body is involved, whether it's stabilizing or just like being the main movers. It's kind of hard to tell, but most of the time it's from the pelvis tilting forward, shoulders rounding forward, and your back rounding. Not like I said, not engaging your glutes and your hamstrings to extend your hips. That might be a reason. Not engaging your lats properly, so your upper back rounds. So that might be one reason too. So it could be a lot of things. You might be flat-footed, which causes your knees to cave in, so your pelvis tilts forward. So it's a lot of things. So probably the main thing to do is try to find someone to like a physical therapist, a corrective exercise specialist, or someone that's knowledgeable with the human anatomy. It's also a strength training coach to be able to do like full body assessment to see how your body mechanics and seeing where the weak points are. Once that's taken care of, you get to deadlift with very light weight, and
exactly.
You're engaging the right body parts. You're stabilizing your core properly, and you're able to hip hinge properly too. So once all that is done, then that's when you start seeing the gains. But like you were saying before, rack pulls are great, but same thing too. Make sure your core is stable, because you still have to use your hips while doing rack pulls, especially if you're putting the barbell a bit lower. So I know you're more experienced with rack pulls than I am, because I've only been doing it for about 3 or 4 weeks. I've been deadlifting for several years now, so I was able to catch on pretty quickly. But from my experience with rack pulls is very similar to deadlift, except less of the hip hinge, but you have to keep a very neutral spine, especially your thoracic spine. Can't be flexed. It has to be like neutral. So make sure you're able to extend your thoracic spine properly too.
Exactly, man. Exactly. One of the reasons why I prefer rack pulls is because there's less likely of you getting injured versus if you were to be deadlifting 4 or 5 times a week with already having lower back issues. And if you're doing everything that Marcos just had said right now, Marcos is an expert in posture and things like that. But anyways, if you find that, I'd say in conclusion, fix your, because let me think about that. Let me think about that for a sec. So based off his questions, like I can assume that his deadlifting form is spot on. If not, I would definitely have like a coach or a strength coach or a trainer just go ahead and check your form while you do the deadlifts, because chances are your form isn't properly taken care of. I would try and fix your form first before you swap the exercise out completely, because that's one of the reasons why people tend to have lower back pain and things like that, is they're rounding. Imagine this was them deadlifting, their back is going to be kind of rounded, which kind of results in them getting lower back pain. And I would definitely make sure that your form's on point. Definitely get like a stand like this and record yourself when you deadlift, so then you can pinpoint how your form looks versus what it's actually supposed to look like. And that's one of the, I wish I would have done that when I was 16, because I actually injured my back deadlifting myself, and that's one of the things I wish I would have done back then. And or else I would be deadlifting right now if I had done that back then. So definitely avoid, definitely avoid the same mistake I did. And then I could be a little bit biased right now because I definitely can't deadlift myself, but based off your question, it seems to me that you don't really care too much about deadlifting. I'd say if you want to build a great physique and like a great back, then I'd say weighted chin ups and your rack pulls are going to be taking care of the overall back size and thickness for the most part, and throwing in some rows in there, pendlay rows, sear rows, and that'll take care of the accessory work for your back. And
at the same time, getting just your posture checked and evaluated and fixed would help you out in the long run, not just for like your physique, but also your workouts and your overall lifestyle too. Just being more aware of how your body's positioned will help you out so much in every aspect of your life. So I know the question was just physique.
Exactly.
At the same time, we're moving human beings that we do things for our body on a day-to-day basis, and we want to make sure we're able to do them at an optimal level as safely and enjoyable and effective as possible too. So that's something also to keep in mind, because I know the fitness industry, we put like a huge emphasis on physique and looks. I know I'm going a bit on a tangent right now, but it's something to think about. It's we put a huge emphasis on physique, which is great, and it's something good to strive for. At the same time,
you got to make sure you're like,
we have to keep in mind if we either want to sacrifice our well-being and our posture in order to reach that point. And at the same time, once you fix your posture, you'll be able to progress and even get a better physique over time. Since if you have like rounded shoulders, tight hips, you won't be able to like move properly or like express yourself properly. When you're upright, you're able to do exercises better. You're able to get stronger better. Your muscle will develop better since they're more in place. So it's just something to think about. Just putting emphasis on alignment and posture. That way, you're able to achieve a better physique and just have a better life overall.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Because if your form and your posture is incorrect, there's a more likelihood of you getting injured, and taking time off the gym is definitely not going to be great for your progression of your physique. Because if you think about it, in order to build a great physique as a natural, you got to get very strong, and you can't get very strong if you're on any movement. If you're, like you said, if your posture and your form is incorrect on a movement, that's going to increase your likelihood of getting injury and things like that. And all these things can be avoidable, like right before you start an exercise. It's really crucial that you really have the form down, because I can tell you countless numbers of times where someone, when let's say that they're deadlifting a plate on both sides, their form is spot on, right? Once you start adding more and more weight on there, you see their form start to deteriorate. That's why it's so crucial to maintain proper form when you're progressing as well. Like when me and Marcos, we say progressive overload and constantly add weight, we're not saying that you should deteriorate your form to lift more. Like I see this all the time when guys are bench pressing, their glutes leave the bench and they're using a leg drive to get the weight up, and all these things should be avoidable, honestly. Like you should be avoiding these things, and these things can be avoided by just nailing the form at the start of the movement. That way you don't have to worry about your form deteriorating or not, and you can continuously progress on these different movements.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was a great question.
Yep, it was. You
Yeah.
probably got an answer too.
Thanks, man. You too. All right. It says, is the vegan Spartan program for beginners? I started weight training recently and I was wondering if I can start it now. I think we kind of answered this earlier. The vegan Spartan program is more for intermediates. I recommend at least having 6 months of weight training under your belt before you start it. That being said, I do have a free weight training program for beginners, for vegans and vegetarians. So I'm going to go ahead and link that in the description below, and you guys can go check that out. All right. Next question is, I know that you recommend incline pressing for an aesthetic chest development, but how can I increase my incline barbell press? I've been doing the same weight for weeks now, and the weight will not go up. What do I do now? Sorry, what do I do now? So he's been doing incline barbell press, and it seems to me that he hit a plateau and he doesn't know what to do about it. So the first thing I recommend when you hit a plateau on any different movement is always rotate your exercises. This is actually a concept I read from the West Side Barbell book of methods, and it's that, let's say that I hit a plateau on incline barbell press like this guy did here, and I would switch to another variation of the same movement. Like, let's say that you plateaued on barbell press, I would switch to a dumbbell press. That way, you'll be progressing on that new movement, and then when you hit a plateau on that, you rotate back to the original movement, and then you'll definitely beat your plateau then. So the goal is that you continue to progress in strength without hitting plateaus, and exercise rotation and having more exercise in your arsenal to switch to is going to be really useful in your weight training career, especially when you start to become more of an intermediate and you're past that novice beginner stage. You're definitely going to start hitting some plateaus, and those are inevitable. And when you're rotating your exercises often, that can help you continue progressing. And if you plateaued on your incline barbell press, I recommend that you switch to incline dumbbell press first and foremost. And then when you hit a plateau on that after a few weeks, or however long it takes you to plateau on that movement, and switch back to barbell, and you should be able to beat what you previously did on that exercise. And exercise rotation, honestly, like, changed my entire training philosophy. It's such a great tool to have in your arsenal. Like same thing goes for if you plateaued on a closed grip bench press, switch over to weighted dips. So the goal is to switch to an exercise that works the same muscle group, but in like a slightly different way. All right, hope this answers your question, man. That was a great question too.
It was.
Yeah.
Like I said, how you can still progress by doing something else, because I feel like a lot of us, it happens to me before, I'm sure it happened to you too, is we get too attached to just the numbers on the plates and try to make that lift instead of looking at the bigger picture, just becoming stronger over time. So like how you say, just trying to progress on different exercises instead, so that way you're still progressing and you're still on track, that you don't feel like demotivated from it too. So that was a great answer.
Yeah, man, definitely. I feel like, and like, this is going to be like a slight rant, but nowadays, I feel like people who are really into strength training, fitness, like, they're only focusing on conventional movements. Like, I know some guys that only train squat, bench, and deadlift year round. They only train 3 exercises year round, and this results in different imbalances in their posture and things like that. And I just feel like sticking to only those conventional lifts religiously is going to be resulting overuse injuries and all kinds of plateaus and things like that. Like, to a certain extent, your linear progression is going to plateau. You're going to have no choice but to switch to another variation of the same movement. That's kind of inevitable, and sticking to those same exercises over and over again is going to be, it's not going to be beneficial for you in the long term. It's going to be really demotivating. And I'm only saying that because I used to be that person too. Like, I only used to train my squat, bench, and deadlift. And like I said before, guys, I had a lower back injury from only doing squats and deadlifts. And another thing too is that our legs are the biggest muscles in our body. And it turns out that when you're focusing so much on squats and deadlifts, your lower body is going to be dwarfing your upper body, which is another thing if you have aesthetic goals. And including like a wide variety of exercises, like incline barbell pressing, standing pressing, curls, weighted chin-ups, weighted pull-ups, rows, and zero rows, pendulum rows. The list goes on. You don't only have to build strength on squat, bench, and deadlift. Like there's other variations and things like that too. And having different exercises in your arsenal that you can switch to will help prevent overuse injuries, help you beat through plateaus. And I will have to credit this method to the West Side Barbell hookup methods, which is actually one of my favorite training philosophy books. And yeah, it's definitely a book that changed my outlook on a lot of different things. And
yeah, actually, just like a few seconds ago, I just bought I had this book on hold for a while, but I started to get it like just right now. The Starting Strength book by Mark Rippleton.
Yeah, it's a great one. Yeah,
I read it right now. I'm like, you know what? I just remember I got to get it. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Mark Rippleton is, man. He is I like his outlook on a lot of different things, and every beginner should definitely read that book. Excuse me, read that book. That's definitely a good one. And the book is called Starting Strength by Mark Rippleton, for those who didn't catch it. All right, it says, what do you do for a living? All right, I'm actually a trainer myself. I go to school part-time, and I do a lot of online coaching, and most of the time I focus on building my brand, Veggie Power Daily. That's what I spend most of my time doing. I just believe, like, I'm just gonna go into a little bit of story about why I started Veggie Power Daily, and it's just that when I first started my fitness journey, there weren't too many resources out there that I can look to, like how to build muscle on a vegan diet. What are some different things I can do to optimize my physique and my strength on a vegan diet? How can I optimize my hormones? There weren't a lot of resources to look to, and I just always thought it was cool to like have put some resources out there for the community that can help them out with their fitness goals and help them get stronger and healthier. And that's one of the reasons why I started this brand. And ever since then, I just made it my mission to help as many plant-based folks who are just like me, to help them get stronger, better, and just overall more healthier. And that's what I spend most of my time doing, just working on Veggie Power Daily, training clients in person and online.
Nice.
All right. The next question it says here is, all right, I gotta open. This is a good one. I really enjoyed this article. I think this is actually a comment from one of my articles. It says, I really enjoyed your article. I work a desk job, and I was wondering if you could recommend some postural exercises I can do to fix my lower back. My wife says I have a forward tilt and a hump back when I walk.
Oh.
His wife says he has a humpback. So he's asking us to fix his humpback.
So I think it's gonna the right spine is flexes forward, I'm assuming. The shoulders round forward. I guess that's what he's referring to. Yeah. So
yeah, basically.
That's what my clients is do the opposite what you do at work. And when you're driving. When you're driving and you're sitting down, I'm gonna turn sideways so people can see you're in a flex position like this. So you're gonna do the opposite. You either be on the ground or on the Swiss ball. You're gonna extend the thoracic spine and put your shoulder and entire arm, rotate it outward so it could be an external rotation instead of being deflection how it usually is like. So that's one thing to do for starters. You can do a lot of work on the rotator cuff by externally rotating your arm, doing things like that. Just turning your arm outwards, basically doing the opposite what you do at your job. That's one of the main things you can do right now. And also, and for strength training, just doing like more pulling movements and pushing movements. Doing exactly. Like 2-to-1 ratio, pull push. So that's something you could do too. But the main thing is just being more aware of your posture, or also I forget where I've seen this before, but also putting like a tennis ball on your back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's his face? Athlete Next from YouTube.
Athlete Next, yeah, he's great
when it comes to that. I actually learned a lot from him. But putting like a tennis ball on your thoracic spine when you're sitting down. So if you lean forward, the tennis ball will fall down, and that'll be like a little trigger in mind to say, "Oh, let me fix that up real quick." And also, it'll give you a trigger if you get too lazy to fix it. You'll realize that you have to address that too. So just doing things like that, building awareness, and just doing the opposite what you do at your job. For starters, that's something you could do.
Exactly, man. Exactly, man. That was spot on, dude.
Oh.
Awesome. All right, all right. So the next one is, dude, your shoulders look huge. What exercises do you recommend to make mine bigger in size? So what I would say is basically what we've been saying in basically all of our episodes up until now. Get stronger at your pressing movements, because if you want to build bigger shoulders, I feel like nowadays guys, they don't give enough work to their pressing movements. They mostly focus on just bench press and arms, like chest and arms. Like there's not much emphasis on shoulders. And I recommend first and foremost, get stronger at pressing movements, whether that be seated dumbbell press or your standing overhead press. Get stronger at one of those movements and switch to another when you plateau, and build that exercise up. And you should see 75% of your shoulder growth from just getting stronger at your seated dumbbell press or your standing overhead press. As you're getting stronger at these movements, you should definitely see improvements in your front and medial delts, and so that's gonna take care of 75% of your shoulder growth, and the other 25% is going to be more of you isolating the medial side of your delt, working on the posterior delt using lateral raises. And for these exercises, guys, I don't recommend going heavy on accessory movements as well, because that's going to be hitting more of your joints. Train heavy on the overhead press and the seated dumbbell press. But for the accessory movement that works the medial head, I would train that in the 12 to 15 rep range. Go really high in reps and really feel it. Basically how Marcos was talking about earlier, like focus on the tempo on these different exercises so you can hit the medial delt hard. And then for rear delt, I would definitely do face pulls, or if your gym has a machine where it's going to be like a reverse fly. Yeah. Reverse fly that kind of goes like that. You can do that. That's going to hit your rear delt too. And so for rear delts, rope face pulls, machine reverse flies, some bent over dumbbell flies. And for medial delt, definitely do a lateral raises, whether that be dumbbells or with cables. I actually myself have been doing cables lately for my medial delts. And as you're getting stronger at your seated dumbbell press and your standing overhead press, and the icing on the top is going to be your accessory work, you're going to build some really, really fully developed delts. And yeah, guys, I don't really know that many people train this way, but I know for sure that it works from what I've observed from people that I've done my programs and myself. I find that having two exercises you're getting stronger at, along with accessory work and high rep ranges, is definitely a formula for great fully developed shoulders. And go ahead and try that out and let me know, man. Let me know.
Yeah, that person is right. You do have like massive delts, so that's something that I struggled with the past few years, because I drive a lot, so my shoulders are constantly like in a rounded position. Even though I do fix them like posture wise, but it's almost like take one step forward and take one step back. But back to the question is definitely just making sure that your shoulders aren't rounding forward while doing these movements. That could lead to shoulder impingement or other injuries or discomfort. So make sure, like I said before, I sound like a broken record, but keep an eye on your posture too, especially your shoulders and your thoracic spine. Make sure they're not rounding forward and keeping them neutral. That way you're able to move the full range of motion and reduce the risk of injury. And
Exactly, man. Awesome. Yeah, definitely. You want to make sure your form is spot on first and foremost. Yeah, you always want to make sure your form's on point, and then work on your standing press, your seated your seated dumbbell press, and then when you plateau on those, like I did recently, work on your standing dumbbell presses. That actually works your front and medial delts really well, and include these different accessory movements as well, and that combination itself will give you some beautiful looking delts. Let's move on to the next question is, all right, hey man, I've been listening to your podcast, and in the vegan muscle mistakes episode y'all did, you said to focus on strength and use reverse pyramid sets. Are RPT sets better than straight sets, or 5x5 style approach to weight training? I'd say it really depends on what stage of your fitness journey you are. If you're a complete beginner, I would say start with straight sets first. I wouldn't worry about RPT sets just yet. Once you've already have a few months of weight training under your belt and you kind of already understand the fundamentals of different movements and you have your posture and your form down, like Marcos talked about earlier, then you can start using RPT sets in your routine, because the whole point of reverse pyramid training is so you can make faster strength gains and make faster gains in general. But when you're a beginner, you don't really need RPT sets because you're going to be building strength linearly anyways. So it's not that big of a deal using RPT sets. But that being said, you still can. In my vegan Spartan course, it's all RPT sets. But if you're a beginner, then definitely start on my novice program first, which has only straight sets, and then work on that for a few months. Make sure your form is correct. Have someone check your form. Make sure you're performing all these movements solid. And then after 6 months, go ahead and get back on the vegan Spartan program and then incorporate more reverse pyramid training. And I think he asked, how is it different? Then I'm assuming, okay. So basically for the viewers who are not sure what RPT sets are, RPT stands for reverse pyramid training, and it's a training style where you start with your heavy set, your heavy working set, aka your top set first, and you rest the whole 3 minutes and you drop the weight down, like the total weight, by 10%, and you add a rep. For example, if I did 225 on my incline barbell press for 5 reps, I would drop the weight down to about 200 pounds for 6 reps, and then I drop the weight down to 180 for 8 reps. So 5, 6, 8. That way I'm incorporating all different rep ranges for strength and for hypertrophy all in one exercise. And how this is different from a drop set is a drop set only has 15 to 30 second rest between sets, while versus RPT sets have a full rest period, anywhere from 4 to 6 minutes between sets, and they're mostly focused on helping you getting stronger. So blending RPT style training with more higher rep training will help you maximize both sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and myofibrillar hypertrophy, which I've already done an article on and gonna go ahead and link in the description below so you guys can check that part out as well. And let's see what we got here. Oh, cool. So we just got another supplement question. Dude, I love getting supplement questions so I can go into my fitness industry rant. I hear you, man. Yeah. So the question here, he asked, I noticed you recently talked about creatine in your Insta story. Should I be taking it, and is it vegan? I'd say yeah, definitely take it, because there's a lot of research supporting that this is like a lot of people ask me about supplements, and I always recommend creatine first and foremost, because it's the one of the only very well researched, very thorough research. There's hundreds of different studies that take place on the effectiveness of creatine, whether that be pre-workout creatine, post-workout creatine on athletes, and there's been some really great scientific evidence supporting that it indeed works. And it's also one of the cheapest supplements you can get to. I think 500 grams of creatine micronized costs only about like $10, $13, which isn't too bad. And if you get it in like a pill form, like a tablet form, it costs like about the same. And it's one of the cheapest, most effective supplement out there. And yeah, man, go for it. I'd say creatine, go for it. And he asked if it's vegan, and I'd say definitely maybe look for a vegan creatine out there. It might be a little bit more expensive, but the thing that I don't really get about this question is creatine itself is in its pure form. It doesn't have any animal products in it. So I really don't think it's oh yeah. One of the reasons that
RV.
Yeah.
Because it says
how it's made.
Like the one I bought before, it says that it has no animal products and has been tested on animals. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. And from the manufacturer as well, like whether the company itself is vegan or not, that could also be another factor. And also whether whether the company yeah, basically whether the manufacturer is whether they're a vegan company or not. That's also another factor to keep in mind. But if you look at the product itself, I would say it's fully plant-based, but I wouldn't say that I wouldn't label it as a vegan unless it actually says so on the container or it claims to be or things like that. Yeah, basically, yeah. Creatine, I would totally recommend it. And Marcos, you recently took creatine, didn't you, as well? You were telling me about it on the last podcast.
Yeah, I've been taking it like on and off, and I do feel a difference, definitely. I remember I did take it about a week ago. No, I think, yeah, it was about a week ago. And I just need an extra boost, and I definitely felt an extra boost with energy. I feel like my endurance was improved. And the thing is, though, like, I want to say the downside, but of course you're trying to like build size while taking creatine. But well, at least most people do. But it does increase your water retention, so just keep that in mind too.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. But that's kind of like a very it's not going to be to the point where you feel like bloated all the time, but it's to a certain extent it does. Mm-hmm. But like my experience from taking creatine recently is I actually like on the first week you take creatine, it usually has like a loading phase where you take about 10-15 grams of it, and then all the weeks following you take only 5 grams from it as like a maintenance phase. But I experimented with creatine a few years ago. I actually used to have creatine in my protein powder itself. This was back when I was vegetarian. I wasn't vegan at the time, and I didn't really see that much of a difference. And I just like, I mean, the whole thing with creatine is if you're really looking to maximize muscle growth, then yeah, go for it. It can definitely be a boost, but it's not going to be a boost to the point at which most people think. Like if you were to, it's kind of like the comparative bias. If you were to compare creatine to all the other bullshit, like bogus supplements out there, then yeah, creatine is the king of all the supplements out there. But if you look at it just like face value, it's probably going to give you like only like a 3 to 5% boost of your overall, and that's if you're training correctly already and your nutrition's correctly already. If you're eating like crap and you're eating Subway and Burger King and you're training for a pump in the gym, it's not going to give you that much of a boost.
Exactly. Yeah, like that's what I was thinking too. Exactly what you said about 5% boost. It's very minimal, but of course over time, if you work properly, if you eat well properly, if you train hard, rest enough, you would see that 5% like negative. Yeah,
exactly. Like I just like a lot of people who are really new to weight training, they come to me and they kind of assume creatine is kind of like steroids. Like should I cycle off of creatine? Should I cycle off of this? I'm like, you don't have to cycle off of it. It's one of the most safest supplements that's out there. And if you're totally open to just dropping like $5-10 a month, and yeah, go for it. Or preferably just build strength without it. That's another option too. Like our ancestors, pretty sure they didn't have creatine to help them lift boulders and things like that. I'm pretty sure they didn't have any creatine monohydrate. That's just my caveman rant for this podcast.
we need a mandatory caveman rant every episode.
Every episode. We have so many caveman rants that people would think that we're following a paleo diet. Yeah. So all right. Let's see what he said. There's also another really good one here that I saw earlier. So we answered that one. I think we're only down to a few questions now. We're almost out.
Cool.
All right. And we got that one. We got one more, I think. Oh yeah, this is definitely another fun one that I got. I think this question was from my YouTube comment, I think. Would you guys ever consider doing body weight training? I think bodyweight training is a really great way to start your fitness journey, no matter what stage you're in, whether you're beginner, advanced, intermediate. Bodyweight training and using your own body weight to progress, I think it's just a really not only is it fun, but it'll also give you really great results. And some of my favorite bodyweight movements is probably going to be your chin-ups, your pull-ups, your dips. I actually recently purchased some rings for my garage so I can start doing so I can start doing more dips and movements. I heard that buying rings, and no matter how strong you are, buying rings and attempting bodyweight exercises on that will definitely humble you.
Yes. Sure. I did rings earlier last year doing the spring and summer. And man, so challenging. I probably did it for about 4 or 5 months. I used to I have like my own rings. Very cheap, by the way. You can get a really, really, really good set.
Cheap, yeah.
Like $30 in Amazon.
Yeah.
It was like a park, like an older park that's like massive, like tall trees, massive strong trees. Throw them up there and maybe work out for like 35, 40 minutes. You get a solid workout. You do your push or pulls, core stabilizing. Exactly. You do a lot of awesome stuff with rings. And of course, you could do different levels because you could treat it like TRX. You do like ring rows, ring push-ups. You could do some hanging leg lifts, do some core too. Then you could do I don't want to call it skin the cat. We gotta give it a vegan name, skin the potato. Do a skin the potato. Or
exactly.
Hang upside down, things like that. Yeah. Or you just hang upside down. So things like that.
Oh, wait, Marcus.
It's very fun, but you have to be careful with it.
By the way, when you said skin the potato, we should probably tell the viewers it's a sweet potato because white potatoes make people fat. So
okay, so skin the sweet potato.
Yeah, sweet potato, because if it's a white carb, then it's gonna cause you to gain weight, and we also can't say fruits because fructose is gonna get converted to fat. So.
I know, right?
It's a bummer, man. It's definitely a bummer.
Oh god, but definitely body weights. Actually, after I warm up, I mobilize my shoulders before doing my push and pull movements. I like to warm up with either doing TRX push pulls or doing pull ups, chin ups, and push ups, depending on what the workout is looking like. And also even for lower body before doing squats and deadlifts, I like to do wall squats or wall sits, floor bridges, body weight squats, just to get the motion going. So I like to do them for a warm up. But also you can also do them as a whole routine. Like I said, I used to do them during the spring and summertime, and it's great to do. It's very fun, and I'll probably do it again when the sun comes out again. I live in California, so
yeah, man.
So
that's a blast.
In a few months, maybe 1 or 2 months. Yeah, actually, I'm moving out to San Francisco in 2 or 3 months, and they have outdoor gyms in several areas. So I'll probably just end up going there. So
outdoor gyms, man.
Yes,
I want to visit an outdoor gym.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's not it's not a gym. It's like a little fitness center.
Yeah,
and it's right by the marina, so it's awesome. And there's always tourists going by, recording. So I was to make sure I'm doing something cool. But yeah, but it's an awesome place to go. So whenever you're back in California, just check it out.
Yeah, man, definitely. I'll definitely check it out because I've always wanted to go to a gym that's more of outside where you can just go where all the weights are kind of rusty and it's kind of has that a badass old school vibe and you can just go lift. Whenever I think of an outdoor gym, the first thing that comes to my mind is just this bald guy that's playing heavy metal and he's just screaming during his conventional deadlifts, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Yeah. Nice. Anyways, man. Yeah, man. Bodyweight training is definitely a great form. It's definitely a great option if you don't have an access to a gym. Just purchased like what Marco said earlier, and I actually purchased a pair of rings myself. It only cost $30 on Amazon. If you guys want to link to that, I don't know why you guys would want to link to that, but I'm still gonna link it in the description if you guys wanna check that out. Yeah, because I actually bought a pair of rings myself, and I'm gonna be learning a lot more bodyweight movements and things like that. So a great style of training, and if you don't have access to a gym, I'd say purchase a pair of rings. Maybe purchase a course or watch a video on how to perform these different movements. And then if you have a local park nearby where they have some monkey bars or bars nearby, I would work on building up your muscle up. It took me forever to personally build up my muscle up, like to be able to do a full range of motion, one muscle up. So build that up. And then if you really want to maximize your muscle growth, purchase like a dip belt, purchase like a dipping belt where you can add weight and where you can add weight to that body weight exercise. Like, for example, what you can do is, I'm just going to give you guys like a simple breakdown for it, because I get a lot of questions asked, like, what if I don't have access to a gym? Like, how do I work out? And if you apply some of these things that me and Marcos are talking about, you won't even need a gym, because you'll be building the majority of your muscle and strength from just bodyweight movements. And how you can do that is maybe just go to like a garage sale and purchase some weights or some kettlebells and buy like a dipping belt and use that on some of the monkey bars at the local park. And this is what me and my brother, we actually used to do back when I think I was like 16, because I actually started with bodyweight exercises myself. And me and my brother, we would take a 45-pound plate and we would go to our local elementary school, which had monkey bars, and we would just attach the weight and do pull-ups and chin-ups and dips, so with those variations. And that's another great option to build strength when you don't have access to the gym. And one of my clients, he doesn't like using free weights for some reason, and he's really into the explosive push-ups, the one arm push-up, which is also another great variation. The pistol squats are another great variation if you want to work your lower body. The Bulgarian squats are without the weight, another great exercise. And all these are great variations. Like bodyweight exercise is really fun to do, especially when you get really advanced at it, like doing handstand push-ups. That's actually another great way to build your shoulders and your delts, doing handstand push-ups. Those are all my favorite variations of it, of doing bodyweight exercises. Let's see if we have any more questions left. I think that concludes. Let's see if there's any more. We still got one more. We still got one more question. All right. So this guy's asking, what? Let me see. Can you share some of your favorite books? He didn't specify whether there be fitness related or not, but
since I agree with the one book for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And like what you shared earlier, Marcos, Starting Strength is definitely one of my favorite books. I learned a lot from that book. There's actually another one too. It's the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding or something like that. I forgot the name of it. And that one too. And those are two fitness related books that are really good. And another one is Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Oh, that's another good one too. Yeah, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. Definitely a good book. Let's
see, I like the thing. Check before.
What was that?
Have you heard of Paul Check before?
No, I haven't.
He's like a holistic health. Like he wrote a book called How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. It's not this before I was vegan. So it's not exactly based, but for me it is. He places a huge emphasis on like cardio movements and moving properly. That's what really got my attention. So not flexing the body and take care of yourself. So that's one of the books I did read a few years ago that really got me on the right track.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And one other book that's not really fitness related, but in a way it still kind of is fitness related. Well, it can be applied to my fitness journey as well. And this book is not only my favorite, but this is also a favorite for Marcos as well. And the book is called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And I actually picked this book up because one of my mentors actually recommended at this mastermind group I usually go to, and I actually didn't read the physical, like the physical like book version of it. I listened to the audiobook, and it honestly made the biggest impact of my life, because 2 years ago I was so obsessed with like reaching my fitness goals that I just kind of, everything just seemed like a means to an end. I wasn't present. I was just always thinking about my goal. Like, I got to get there. And then it was kind of holding me back a lot. And then when listening to Eckhart Tolle talk about just becoming fully present, enjoying the process, and and things like that. And that really changed my aspect of becoming more present in my day-to-day life, and that really helped me with my fitness journey as well. Made the journey more enjoyable, you know.
Oh, definitely, yes. Like you said before, it is also my favorite books. I actually read the physical one last year for the first time. I was just blown away by just the fact, very simple concept of just being present. It's something that a lot of us forget most of the time, and we even, I don't want to say take for granted, but it's something that we don't practice enough because we're constantly stimulated, constantly distracted, constantly thinking and thinking and thinking. And we're constantly associating ourselves with our thoughts, with our beliefs, with what other people think, instead of just being present, being aware, being in the moment, being yourself, and just being there. That's it. It's like it's a very simple process, but it takes time and a lot of deconditioning and unlearning to actually be in the path of just being more present, and also not expecting to be always be present, because if you expect that you're not present, you get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in a cycle and just being there, being present, being here. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, man. It's a really good read, and like the first time, I'm gonna be honest with you, like the first time I listened to the first chapter of the book, I was kind of like turned off by it because Eckhart Tolle said that he sat on a bench for a year, and I'm like, what is going, like, what kind of book is this? Is this kind of gonna be like more of a woo-woo type of book? And then I just gave it a shot. Like I kept my open mind, and then I really gave it a shot, you know, and that was one of the best decisions I've ever made in regards to my reading choices, and it totally just changed my whole perspective on a lot of different things, not just becoming more present, but just not identifying with like a certain anything, just not identifying with certain things, and just becoming more present overall, just not taking life as like a means to an end, just simply enjoying the process of whatever goal you have in mind, and things like that. Yeah. When you guys hear that,
on how to be more present on workouts and on other aspects of life too. Let's make it happen. I'm down for it.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Yeah. Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, A New Earth.
I'm listening to that right now, the audiobook.
Yeah.
I'm on like the chapter 7, chapter 8 right now in the audiobook. So it's pretty long. It's like 9 hours long. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually reading the physical copy of The New Earth, and I'm listening to the audio version. I actually, as part of my morning ritual, I actually listen to Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, for at least 15-20 minutes every morning, because it just brings me back to the present, and it helps me become more productive throughout my day, rather than think about like the 50 other things that I'm going to be doing later on. I can just think about like, what do I have to do right now? I'm just going to get that done, and then I'm going to go take care of the other stuff too. And it really gives me like a good start to my day, you know. It just kind of space to think about different things, and it basically, to sum it up, it helps me, brings more presence, you know. It helps me become more present. And Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, A New Earth, Starting Strength, by Mark Rippetoe. And the other book, it's a name I always mix up. I know it's the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding or something like that. I'm gonna, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you guys can check out that I actually put down my top 5 favorite books, and then you guys can check that out. And yeah, guys, I definitely have a lot more books I want to talk about now, but they're not really fitness related, so I'm just gonna save that for another time. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys had an amazing day so far, and thank you for all the amazing questions this week. Thank you for tuning in, letting us know how you feel about our podcast, and I really appreciate the support recently, because Marcos, we've been getting a lot of support for the podcast from the plant-based community recently, and I just want to give you guys a quick thank you for all that, because I know me and Marcos, we started this recently, and we're still learning ourselves. So we're by no means experts in technology or anything like that. We're just two guys who are just really passionate about helping the plant-based community out, reach their fitness goals, helping them become more healthy, more strong, just more fit overall. And that's our kind of our goal with this podcast, is to help bring this podcast the best plant-based fitness podcasts out there. And if you guys have like a topic that you want us to cover, just leave us a comment or leave us a review, depending on where you guys are listening to this, whether that be YouTube, iTunes, Kobo, anywhere else. And if you guys enjoy this podcast, feel free to let us know. And we will see you guys next week.
See you next week. Peace.